We'll start off with Inspector Keith Finn, the officer in charge of the Integrated National Security Enforcement Team.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. As the National Police Force, the RCMP has the primary responsibility for preventing, detecting, investigating, and responding to terrorism-related criminal activities in Canada. We are deeply committed to our efforts aimed at countering terrorism and protecting national security interests. On Tuesday, March the 29th, 2011, the RCMP arrested an individual in the Toronto area for terrorism-related offences. Mohamed Hassan Hersi was arrested and charged under Section 83.18 of the Criminal Code of Canada for attempting to participate in terrorist activity and for providing counsel to a person to participate in a terrorist activity. Mr. Hersi was arrested without incident at Toronto Pearson International Airport yesterday. It is alleged that he was about to board a plane for Cairo, Egypt, transiting through London, England, to then go to Somalia. This joint national security criminal investigation between the RCMP, O-Division Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, O-INSET, and the Toronto Police Service Intelligence Division, named Project Severe, began in October 2010. In the course of this investigation, it was revealed that the suspect was allegedly planning to travel to Somalia to join Al-Shabaab and participate in their terrorist activities. The RCMP and the Toronto Police Service were able to obtain numerous critical pieces of evidence required to lay criminal charges. The suspect is currently being detained pending his court hearing. The RCMP plays a critical role in the fight against global terrorism, and this investigation is an example of our dedication to this important cause. Domestic radicalization associated with Al-Qaeda-related extremist ideology remains a particular concern to us and to law enforcement and security agencies in Canada. We cannot effectively counter the threat of radicalization leading to violence through detection and disruption alone. We must also focus our efforts on longer-term preventive programming that aims to foster individual and community resilience to that dangerous narrative employed by Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and others. The RCMP established the National Security Community Outreach Initiative to engage all of Canada's ethnic, cultural, and religious communities in the protection of Canada's national security. The RCMP will continue to strengthen an integrated law enforcement approach in partnership with communities to counter terrorist criminal activity and radicalization to violence. I would like to thank the investigators for their hard work and dedication to this complex investigation. I know that they have put in many long hours in the interest of disrupting terrorist activities. While Project Severe was co-led by the RCMP and the Toronto Police Service, I would also like to express my appreciation to all the O-INSET partners whose cooperation was key for this investigation. Through close national and international relationships, the RCMP increases its ability to enforce the laws that protect our national security and assists in bringing criminals to justice. In closing, we encourage the public to contact the RCMP National Security Information Network at 1-800-420-5805 to report any suspicious activities that may or could pose a threat to Canada's national security, or to contact their local police department. I will now let my colleague, Superintendent Tom Fitzgerald from the Toronto Police Service, say a few words, and then we will be available to answer some questions. Tom?
Thank you very much, Keith. As is evident today, the Toronto Police Service works very closely with our law enforcement partners at INSET. All levels of policing have a valuable contribution to make to national security investigations, and we must work collaboratively in order to ensure success in these types of events. Project Severe is an excellent example of this type of collaboration. In September of last year, the Toronto Police Service Intelligence Division came upon information that was potentially a national security concern. We notified our federal counterparts, and together we embarked on this 6-month investigation that has resulted in this arrest. I'd also like to echo the comments made by Inspector Finn. Domestic radicalization is an ongoing concern for law enforcement at all levels. Radicalization can affect the smallest communities in a way that can have a devastating national impact. Here in Toronto, we are of course grateful for the efforts of the RCMP's National Security Community Outreach, and it very much complements the outreach being done by the Community Mobilization Unit and the local divisions of the Toronto Police Service. Efforts to prevent domestic radicalization, particularly of our young people, must include continued cooperation between law enforcement and all our communities. To that end, while I'm not able to discuss specifics, I would like to thank the support that this investigation received from community members. It was played an integral role in the successful outcome that we're speaking of today. That's all of my comments. Thank you very much. And to the extent possible, Inspector Finn and I will now be pleased to answer your questions.
What was the spam planning? I mean, what was going on?
Well, we can't comment on a lot of those things. Unfortunately, the charges are before the court. Certainly, there was a particularly important piece of evidence that started the investigation. That will be revealed in due process at court, and at that point, I'm sure you'll all be fully engaged in reporting on that.
Can you tell us which items were seized with the suspect at the airport? In court today, we heard items were seized.
I can confirm that some items were seized, but I can't get into details of exactly what. As my colleague, Superintendent Tom Fitzgerald said, the matter is before the courts, and so for the integrity of the court proceedings and the ongoing investigation, we're not at liberty to discuss further details at this time.
He was radicalized, allegedly, through a mosque or internet. Do you have any information on that front you can provide?
The details of that will come out before the court.
The counseling to participate in terrorist activities, can you elaborate on that at all?
Counseling, in very general terms, means...
Is there another person in Canada? Was it outside? Or?
Counseling means that you're trying to engage somebody else in those terrorist activities. I'm not at liberty to discuss that at this time.
Made that would affect Canada?
There was nothing in the investigation that would suggest a direct threat to Canadians within Canada. However, the issue of radicalization and of people from Canada traveling overseas and receiving that type of further indoctrination and training remains a concern to the RCMP and our partners as far as national security is concerned.
Is it the biggest threat, the biggest concern you have right now in terms of terror-related activities?
It's one of our concerns.
Eventually overthrow Somalia's transitional government. If that's the case, why should the average Canadian be concerned?
Shabaab is a listed terrorist entity because of their attacks against innocents in support of their extremist radical ideology. It's a listed terrorist group within the authority of law in Canada, and any participation in that group would constitute an offence.
So why should, again, the average person, are our life and liberty here in Toronto at risk here? Can you comment on that? Are you worried about it coming back here?
Well, of course, that's one of the possibilities, and that is a concern. Canadians need not be afraid, they just need to be aware and vigilant. I'm not in a position to comment on any other investigations that may or may not be ongoing.
Shabaab cell probably in Toronto or Canada?
Not that I'm aware of.
The statute of the threat, that Al-Shabaab poses to Canada. I know it's a listed terrorist group. You guys today here are making a big splash about the fact that you basically prevented someone from leaving Canada to go and engage with them. Just so that we understand, you know, the atmosphere and how things are going, what is al-Shabaab's threat to Canada right now?
Canada has enacted laws that protect Canadians wherever they may be, and our allies wherever they may be, from terrorist activities. Al-Shabaab has a documented history of terrorist activities, atrocities, if you will, and that's resulted in the group being listed as a terrorist entity. Canadians and police and security within Canada have, of course, a concern to anybody that would engage in those activities. I'm sorry, if you could repeat the question, please.
What exactly are they doing here in Canada to radicalize people? How much is this going on?
The extent of the problem is one that we're actively engaged on. In terms of quantifying it, I'm not in a position to do that today.